Hello everyone, this is Shepard, this time with another view from the same hunt I did earlier with the Monster Hunter World PAX West demo. This time we're going to be doing the viewpoint from Omnitoad, a Twitch streamer and a very good friend of mine. He will be demonstrating the gun lance. So we're going to get another chance to go through the camp again. This time we can actually kind of see some of the other weapons. He scrolls through them quite a bit. Interestingly enough, while the element seems to be rather low on these in the double digits, the statuses were in the triple digits. So I don't know if they're doing scaling on element this time around or not. Those of you who've been playing the game for quite a while will remember there would be various damage multipliers, particularly in things like switch axes and hammers and great swords, and not so much on things like sword and shield. It would make the damages look very different. Going forward, especially starting with Portable Third, they kind of did away with some of the scaling, and everything was kind of on a base 100, 200, 300 level format, depending whether you were low, high, or G rank, generally speaking. Big thing to notice about the gun lance is you have the 5 shots here showing that this is a normal gun lance, but then you have something right underneath it. So this has been discussed in some of the other videos that have come out about World, but that is the Wyvern Steak, I believe. And we're going to see that a couple times. That's actually going to be a priority of Omnitoads to use, because it is just quite a bit of damage. And it can be reloaded every time you do a full reload, which again, if you're using a gun lance, you're probably going to be doing fairly often anyways. So I noticed the same thing about him as I did on myself. For some reason, it seemed like whenever you used an antidote immediately after healing, it almost even took a little bit for it to take effect. So we didn't see the big explosion there in the end from the damage numbers, but I do know that that explosion or the final hit from the Wyvern Steak does sometimes close to about 40 damage, which compared to a lot of the other attacks that I've done and what he is doing is pretty high. Gun lance is a really interesting weapon anyways, in that you're pretty much always given a good solution to any sort of problem. If you're facing a intrinsically weak point like the head, sometimes the tail or something else like that, you can focus on normal melee hits. But of course you're on something that doesn't take a lot of damage, like a leg or a chest or a back, depending on the monster, you can go ahead and shell and still do true damage, as well as usually a little bit of fire damage as well. Wow. So the Rathalos certainly is not pulling any punches, and unfortunately for Toad, he is actually a main target of this Rathalos. It's actually kind of fun seeing my character running around in the background trying to figure out the bow and arrow at the same time. Definitely a dynamic looking game. So again, you got a pretty good look at the drinking animation there. It's almost like the hunter is actively chugging it down between gulps, which is kind of interesting, I guess, to look at. It almost looked like there was a guard point there, although clearly there wasn't because he got hit. I also like that little flourish. I didn't notice it before. The Mega Potion has a little bit of a plus or a spark on it. So he just reloaded, got all of his shots back, as well as the Wyvern Fire, Worm Steak shot. Okay, so now he's in yellow sharpness. I'm going to see how his weapon works now. So it looks like below a certain sharpness, not only do you bounce, but there's actually no damage done at all. Unless it's to something that you could normally cut through at that level of sharpness, which is different. In previous games, of course, even if you bounced, you might do some level of damage anyways. At least at that level of sharpness, though at yellow, it doesn't look like you do anymore. So that will be something to be interesting to see, especially if ESP is in this, to see how that interacts in terms of whether or not you can actually do damage or not to a spot you would normally bounce on at your current level of sharpness. Interesting how she kind of even speaks at the exact same time on this side as she did on my side, saying like, "Hey, remember these tips."
Go get a closer look. Your wildlife map keeps track of where you are.
Now remember, none of us actually used a paintball on him, so once you've begun fighting a monster, that's almost like an automatic process. Okay, he's locked on to the wedge beetle. He's swinging, and he's back. Okay. Well, that was something. Getting some good hits off on the tail. And again, I'm thinking right now, again, you have to remember this was maybe his very first time using this weapon. He's realizing how you really want to prioritize that wyvern stake. So whenever he's given the chance, he's going to try and use that. That almost looks like a Malfizio cape. Kind of makes you wonder if he'll be back in this game or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Okay, now he's a sugar glider. And it looks like you only get a couple moments to actually utilize it. So I can see now the mantle actually has like decreased a little bit in the HUD there. The hood is like half grayed out. So I would imagine you can go through and continue using that either until it's all the way grayed out, or maybe you can only use it again once it's fully charged again. I would assume it's either one or the other. Here's the part of the hunt where Kogath was able to get a ride. Kogath, I would assume, will be posting the video of his perspective at some point in the next week or so. So definitely keep an eye out on that. That 41 damage, you'll remember when I was using my power shot, even with power coating on, my wyvern piercing shot, or dragon piercer shot, would actually do about 50 total. And certainly that attack is coming out much faster than mine. So I know Gunlance gets a lot of hate in terms of, you know, theoretically being on the lower end of the damage scale, especially in G rank and on, but hopefully the weapon will continue to scale throughout all of Monster Hunter World and it can be viable. I mean, every weapon's viable, of course. It's just, do you want your fight to last 6 minutes or 5 minutes? If you like the weapon, I don't think most people would mind. He's definitely tired. I know in my last video I wasn't sure what he was doing, but he is definitely sleepy. Sleepy boy. The drool actually looks pretty good. You can see it just like pouring out of that mouth. Now the damage went down, but I don't necessarily think that's because of the area. I think it's because he's now down to yellow sharpness, which may affect the Wyvern Fire shot in terms of how much damage it does. I know I say Wyvern's Fire, it's like worm stake. I don't mean to use the two terms interchangeably. Those are definitely two different attacks. Notice here the whetstone has a little infinite sign next to it. I know we saw in the bow bow demonstration that we had an unlimited number of close range coatings. Maybe now whetstones are included as an infinite item, because if you're a Blade Master, why wouldn't you? Notice in the bottom left of the screen there, you can kind of see that we've hit 2 points of familiarity with the Rathalos. I would assume if you were to get all 3 of those highlighted, maybe some other option become available. Maybe you would know when he was ready for capture if he wasn't limping. I would assume something like that might be possible.
target is proving to be elusive. Take a good look at the wildlife map and pay close attention to your scout flies too.
Okay, flame nut. I'm not sure if he grabbed that or not. These items are shown up on the left side. I don't know if those are items that the scout flies are finding or if items that you're automatically picking up. I don't know. Oh, bad luck. Double claw attack. Oh, wow. But look how refreshing that is. Immediately back. I would say maybe one of the most enraging moments in any Monster Hunter game is immediately after dying, the slow collapse to the ground, followed by the about 5-second animation of the felines dumping you on the ground. I think in total that was about 3 to 5 seconds, which is nice. See, he saw some footprints. I would assume that if he continued to follow those, he would probably begin tracking another monster. Again, the quest was not to fight the Rathalos. That quest was to fight, you know, the Argonath or something like that. Okay, he's going to become a bird again. Looks like Hunter 1, that was Sammy, was able to do a little bit of flying himself. That burst fire did a ton of damage. Now he was able to do a quick reload there, and it looked like he was able to only replenish his shots. He did not regenerate the worm stake. Now it looks like he picked up some slinger bombs there. And it looks like each one of those shots is doing about the same damage as about 2 of his normal Wyvern Fire shots. Which, you know, if he's in the air, why not? It'll be really interesting to see how armor skills affect those various Wyvern or slinger attacks. This is the part of the video where I started randomly mashing out different attacks for whatever reason. Certainly, from his perspective, it seems like the scout flies are doing a much better job of guiding us directly to the monster. And I think part of that is that he made absolutely sure to have the monster selected. Wow. What a great attack. Okay, so if we're looking here, we can see a couple different things. Attack, brace, but also it looks like there's the ability to move around the monster. So it may be if they were fighting in a different monster in a different area, you would want to make sure that you moved to the side of the monster that was not going to get slammed into a wall. Okay, now that he's done enough damage, he's going to be able to actually use his weapon. He did a complete burst fire, knocking him to the ground. So the really disappointing thing is the video ends about now, and sorry about that. Again, we had a very limited ability to record, but again, thank you for watching, and thank you for all the support in the previous video. I hope to have many more videos coming out soon, either in this or Monster Hunter Double Cross. So, until next time, this is Shepard saying good luck and have a good hunt.